All right, so chapter 47. Lupe's interview aired the next day, on Halloween. We all crowded around the living room and watched the footage instead of going trick or treating. Lupe's face was blurred out. You could only see her neck and her shirt. She was sitting in the manager's quarters wearing her No on Prop 187 shirt that we got at the march. I just want my dad to stay here so we can be a family, Lupe said in the interview. My dad's a good person. He's never been in trouble before. He works so hard. Her voice was bold and strong. It was like she'd bundled up all her worries and hid them behind cabinets and beds, the way my mom did with loose electrical cords. She went on to describe how her dad got up at the crack of dawn each day, climbed onto the roofs of houses and buildings under the hot sun, and never took a single day off, not even on Christmas, when someone, Mr. Yao, I happen to know, demanded Jose come over to fix the cable so his son, that would be Jason, could watch movies in his room. As the camera cut to pictures of her dad, I put my arm around Lupe. I was so proud of her. The last few weeks had been really hard, and I knew she was scared of going on TV. But tonight, she had enough courage to power a city. The reporter asked Lupe what she thought of Prop 187. Do you think it had anything to do with your dad getting picked up? I think Prop 187 makes it okay to target immigrants, Lupe replied. And I don't think that's fair. We're good people. We're not here to make trouble. We want to work hard and succeed, just like everyone else. Woohoo! Hank cheered, jumping up and clapping. Well said. The Weeklies and my parents all hugged Lupe when the interview was over and congratulated her on what was an amazing, awe-inspiring job she did. Girl, you nailed it, I said, beaming at my best friend. Lupe grinned and gave me a high five. Just then, the phone rang. Lupe, my mom exclaimed. It's your mother. Chapter 48. When Lupe heard her mom's voice on the phone, she started sobbing. Mommy, she cried. I thought you were dead. As the two of them exchanged words in Spanish, my mom gripped my hand. I tried to make out what they were saying, but my Spanish was limited to the most basic check in and check out terms. No, Mommy, stay there, Lupe said in English. I'd been hoping that Mrs. Garcia had made it back to the States and was just lost, wandering around somewhere in San Diego. But as Lupe hung up and then sat there, staring at the phone in her hands, I realized she must still be in Mexico. She tried to cross over, but the coyotes she hired were bad, Lupe explained. They took all her money, but wouldn't help her cross. Her voice trailed off. That's terrible, I said. She couldn't call us because she didn't have any money, Lupe said. And when she saw our flyer, wait a minute, she saw our flyer? I asked. Lupe nodded. A woman at a bus station had one. That's how my mom was finally able to call us. The woman let her use her phone. I couldn't believe that our little flyer somehow made it all the way down to Mexico and helped Mrs. Garcia get back in touch with us. I'm so relieved she's okay, Lupe said, wiping a tear from her cheek. I really thought she was dead. My mother scooped Lupe up into her arms and declared, This calls for a celebration. She turned to my dad and suggested we lock the front office and all go out for a Halloween dinner. Lupe and all the weeklies and I immediately seconded this idea. It was even better than trick-or-treating. My dad said, You guys go ahead. I'll stay behind and watch the motel. Oh, come on, I protested. We'll never get to go out all together. But there's so much to do, he said. looking warily toward the laundry room. I knew what he was thinking. It was the same thing he thought every night, that the towels needed to be washed, the soda needed to be refilled in the vending machine, the recycling needed to be sorted, the pool leaves needed to be gathered. The list was as long as my arm. Just this once, my mom said. The towels will still be there tomorrow. My dad hesitated. But it'll be more expensive if we all go. Hank put a hand on my dad's back. Once in a while, you gotta live a little, buddy. Otherwise, you'll burn out. My dad shook his head. I don't believe in burnout. That's an American thing. I wanted to roll my eyes. Instead, I tried to put it to him another way. What about celebrating with family? I asked my dad. Isn't that a Chinese thing? Lupe and I looked up at him with big, hopeful smiles on our faces, and my dad relented. All right, he said finally, let's do it. As we piled into the car, my mother smiled at my dad, practically giddy with excitement, and he laughed. It was a wonderful sight, seeing my parents both so happy, and I reached out with my hands, pretend clicked, and called out, eggplant! This time my mom held up two fingers and smiled at the camera.